Night always felt longer inside our bedroom. Curtains heavy with dust muffled the moonlight, leaving only faint glimmers across the sheet. I stretched my arm toward Clara, hoping the warmth of touch could soften the silence that had grown between us. My hand brushed her shoulder gently, searching for closeness that had once been effortless. She stiffened, exhaled a sharp sigh, and whispered words colder than the marble floor beneath my bare feet. Better sleep than acting interested. Her back remained turned, her figure a shadowed wall of indifference. My arm fell, heavy with rejection. I chuckled bitterly, masking hurt behind sarcasm. Better, I muttered, not finishing, because every continuation tasted like surrender. I lay still, eyes burning into the ceiling, counting invisible cracks. My chest carried the weight of unsaid pleas. Why don't you want me anymore? When did we become strangers? But Clara's steady breathing told me she had already drifted far from my questions, floating into a dreamscape where I did not exist. Memories intruded. Her laughter on our honeymoon balcony, the sparkle when she used to adjust my tie, the warmth of stolen kisses at crowded parties. That woman felt gone, replaced by someone who saw my embrace as disturbance rather than devotion. I rose quietly, feet padding across wooden boards, careful not to wake her. In the kitchen, the refrigerator's hum filled the emptiness. I poured wine into a glass, though the hour begged for sleep instead of drinking. The liquid burned down my throat, igniting frustration that had no outlet. Loneliness, once foreign, now lived inside me like an uninvited tenant. I carried it through every corridor, every interaction. At work, colleagues joked freely, but I wore a practiced smile. Friends invited us to dinners. Clara declined each one. Excuses about exhaustion, headaches, deadlines, always something. I stopped insisting. Isolation grew roots, wrapping around me tighter each season. That night, with wine loosening restraint, I opened my phone. Social feeds buzzed with curated happiness. Couples traveling, holding hands, sharing stolen selfies. I scrolled quickly until I landed on a message icon glowing faintly. It was from Marissa, an old acquaintance from university. Her words simple, harmless. Saw your name in an article. Congratulations on the project. Hope you're doing well. I typed back reflexively, gratitude mixing with nostalgia. Conversation flowed easily, unburdened by the heaviness I felt at home. Marissa remembered details I had forgotten. My favorite author, the way I hated strong coffee. She laughed through texts, emojis filling spaces where Clara offered silence. As the clock crept past 2, I realized hours had dissolved unnoticed. I should have felt guilt, yet all I sensed was relief, as if some dam had cracked and water finally rushed free. When I returned to bed, Clara remained unmoved, her body curled tightly against herself. I slipped beneath covers, phone still buzzing faintly in my palm. Her breathing rhythm never changed. She did not turn, did not ask, did not care. Inside me, a dangerous awareness began. Desire could survive even when love suffocated. And when unmet, desire searched for other flames. I whispered into the dark, not toward her but toward my own restless soul. Better what, really? The question lingered, unanswered, daring me toward something I could neither name nor deny. Morning light pierced through blinds, scattering stripes across Clara's sleeping form. I watched her for a moment, hoping to feel something other than the ache of distance. She looked peaceful, almost angelic in repose, but even angels can grow distant, untouchable. I considered waking her with a kiss, then remembered last night's dismissal, and turned away. Coffee brewed in the kitchen, bitter aroma filling the air. I sipped slowly, scrolling again through the thread with Marissa. She had sent another message at dawn. Couldn't sleep either. Funny how some things never change. Her words settled over me like a hand brushing my cheek. Gentle, familiar, dangerous. I typed back quickly, fingers moving before conscience caught them. We exchanged playful banter, the kind that once flowed easily between Clara and me but now felt like a relic buried beneath years of silence. By mid-afternoon, Marissa suggested a call. I hesitated, glancing at Clara's closed office door. She worked from home most days, locked in endless video conferences, rarely surfacing except for meals. My hesitation didn't last long. I pressed accept. Her voice slid through the receiver like velvet. Warm, teasing, filled with life. We spoke of careers, memories, failures, triumph. She confessed to loneliness too. Her marriage fractured long ago, leaving her heart half-hungry, half-hardened. Our confessions wove together, stitching a fragile fabric of shared vulnerability. When the call ended, I sat in silence, pulse racing as if I had sprinted across an invisible field. The kitchen clock ticked louder than usual, each second a reminder of lines I had already blurred. I told myself it was innocent, that talking to an old friend carried no harm. Yet I knew the way my chest fluttered at her laugh betrayed that excuse. That evening, Clara joined me at the table. We ate pasta in silence, forks clinking against porcelain. I asked about her day. She answered with clipped sentences, eyes fixed on her plate. When I mentioned possibly meeting Marissa for coffee, testing her reaction, she shrugged. "Do what you want," she said flatly, as though my choices existed outside her concern. Her indifference cut sharper than anger ever could. I swallowed disappointment with my last sip of wine, pretending the sting didn't reach bone. The next afternoon, I met Marissa at a small cafe near the river. She appeared radiant, her smile carrying sunlight even under cloudy skies. Time had shaped her features differently, sharper cheekbones, eyes lined with wisdom, but the same spark lived within. We hugged briefly, a touch lingering longer than necessary. Conversation unfolded effortlessly, laughter spilling across the table. She remembered details Clara never cared for. Books I loved, movies I quoted, my disdain for mint chocolate. With her, I felt visible again, as though layers of neglect had been peeled away. When our hands brushed while reaching for the sugar, electricity shot through me. She didn't pull away. Neither did I. Leaving the cafe, rain drizzled gently, forcing us beneath the same umbrella. Our shoulders touched, warmth radiating through damp clothes. At the crosswalk, she looked up, eyes glistening not from rain but from something deeper, unspoken. "I've missed this," she murmured. Those words lodged inside me like forbidden fruit, tempting, irresistible. I should have walked away, gone home, kissed my wife even if she turned cold. But instead, I stood frozen, craving more of what Marissa offered: connection, affirmation, hunger. That night, Clara rejected me again, claiming exhaustion. I lay awake, phone glowing in my hand, reading Marissa's goodnight message over and over. The storm had begun, subtle but unstoppable, and I knew desire would soon demand payment far heavier than conversation. Rain became an accomplice, always arriving when Marissa and I met. Weeks passed in a blur of messages, calls, and coffee rendezvous. I told myself each meeting was harmless, yet every glance, every brush of her hand chipped away at boundaries once sacred. One afternoon, she invited me to her apartment, claiming she had a bottle of wine, too good to drink alone. I hesitated, excuses circling my tongue, but they crumbled when I heard her voice soften through the line. "Please, I'd really like your company tonight." I arrived carrying guilt in one pocket and anticipation in the other. Her place smelled of sandalwood and citrus, cozy yet elegant. Shelves overflowed with novels, vinyl records stacked carelessly, a painting half-finished in the corner. It felt alive, unlike the cold order of my own home where conversation had died. Marissa greeted me barefoot, wearing a simple dress that clung lightly to her figure. Her hair fell loosely over her shoulders, catching candlelight as she poured glasses of wine. We sat close on the sofa, laughter rising easily, wine loosening restraint. She spoke about solitude, about longing for companionship beyond fleeting encounters. I listened, nodding, pretending my empathy wasn't already turning into something darker. At one point, she leaned in to show me a photograph from her travels. Her shoulder brushed against mine, heat radiating from skin that begged to be touched. My pulse raced. She turned, eyes locking with mine, lingering too long, daring me to close the space. I wanted to resist. I thought of Clara, asleep behind locked doors, of vows whispered years ago under a canopy of flowers. But Clara's voice no longer echoed inside me. Instead, Marissa's laughter, her scent, her closeness filled every empty chamber of my chest. Her hand found my knee, light at first, then firmer. "You don't have to be lonely," she whispered. The room held its breath. My mind screamed for control, yet my body leaned forward, lips brushing hers with hesitation that dissolved into hunger. The kiss tasted of red wine and years of suppressed desire. She pulled me closer, fingers threading through my hair, erasing every last shred of resistance. We stopped briefly, foreheads pressed together, both gasping as though surfacing from water too deep. Her eyes searched mine, filled with longing but also uncertainty. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. I should have left then. I should have stood, thanked her, walked into the night, and chosen fidelity over temptation. Instead, I nodded, betraying not only my wife but also the man I once believed myself to be. The hours blurred. Touch replaced talk, silence heavy with meaning Clara had withheld for years. Every embrace carried both sweetness and poison, feeding something starved inside me while simultaneously planting thorns. When dawn finally crept through her window, I lay tangled beside Marissa, guilt gnawing beneath the afterglow. She traced circles on my chest, smiling softly as though nothing beyond these walls mattered. I kissed her forehead, yet my stomach churned with dread. Driving home, rain returned, washing streets clean while my conscience remained stained. Clara was still asleep when I entered, her side of the bed untouched since I had left the night before. I sat on the edge, watching her breathe, wondering if she sensed betrayal in the air, if her dreams carried whispers of truth. I told myself it had been a mistake, a one-time lapse. But deep down, I knew desire rarely settles for a single taste. Once awakened, it claws for more. And I, fool that I was, already longed for her again. Days grew heavier with secret. Each morning I woke beside Clara, feigning normalcy, while my thoughts lingered on Marissa's lips, her laughter, the curve of her hand across mine. Guilt pressed against my chest like an anvil, yet lust overpowered conscience. I told myself lies. I deserve happiness. Clara pushed me away. This isn't betrayal, it's survival. Lies have a way of sounding like truth when whispered often enough. At work, I stared at spreadsheets but saw Marissa's silhouette. She sent photos of sunsets from her window, candid shots of her art, even a selfie with hair tousled, smile radiant. My heart raced each time my phone vibrated. Those moments eclipsed everything else. One Friday, I lied to Clara outright. I claimed a late meeting downtown, though my calendar remained empty. Instead, I drove straight to Marissa's apartment. She greeted me with arms wide, eyes shining with a hunger that matched my own. Her kiss devoured hesitation. The apartment glowed with candles, shadows flickering across walls as though they bore witness to sin made flesh. We spent hours tangled in passion, unburdened by silence, free from rejection. With Marissa, every touch carried fire. She saw me not as a chore, not as an inconvenience, but as someone worth craving. Each stolen night built a fortress around us, shutting out the world beyond. Yet, even in moments of ecstasy, doubt whispered. After one fevered embrace, I lay staring at her ceiling, heart pounding, sweat cooling. Marissa traced her fingers across my chest and asked, "Do you ever think about telling her?" The question clawed at me. I muttered evasively, "It's complicated." She smiled sadly, eyes dimming. "It always is." That conversation haunted me. I replayed it in my head while sitting across from Clara at dinner, her eyes glazed as she scrolled through emails mid-meal. She didn't notice my silence, didn't question why I pushed food around my plate instead of eating. Her indifference gave me permission, at least that's how I justified it. The affair escalated. Quick meetings after work, weekend excuses, stolen hours disguised as errands. My life split in two. Dutiful husband in daylight, desperate lover in shadow. I became skilled at deception, erasing messages, fabricating schedules, perfecting alibis. But duplicity leaves cracked. One evening, Clara asked casually, "Why do you smell like sandalwood?" Panic surged through me. I stammered something about a new cologne a colleague wore, hoping my tone carried enough conviction. She nodded slowly, eyes narrowing slightly before drifting back to her laptop. Suspicion had entered the room, and though she didn't voice it again, I felt its presence lurking. Still, I couldn't stop. Marissa consumed me. She became oxygen where home felt suffocating. With her, I rediscovered hunger, vitality, a reckless edge that years of routine had dulled. Nights at her apartment blurred into mornings of rushed excuses, but I kept returning. One evening, lying in her bed, she whispered, "You're mine when you're here. But when you leave, I wonder, will you ever really be?" Her vulnerability pierced through lust, stirring emotions deeper than desire. I wanted to reassure her, to promise permanence. Yet the image of Clara, aloof but still my wife, anchored me. I remained silent, pressing my lips against her hair instead of answering. Back home, I lay beside Clara's motionless figure, heart torn between two women, one who no longer wanted me, and one who wanted me too much. The double life gnawed at my soul, but surrendering either felt impossible. I had entered a labyrinth of passion and deceit, with no map leading out. And every step forward dragged me further from the man I once was. Shadows of secrecy grew longer. What once thrilled me now bred unease. Each text from Marissa quickened my pulse, not only with desire but with fear. Every call risked discovery, every lie demanded precision. I rehearsed explanations in my head, tailoring excuses before Clara could even ask. But rehearsals never erase the weight of deceit. Clara's indifference began to shift. She started watching me more closely, subtle but unmistakable. Her eyes lingered when I left for errands at odd hours. She sniffed my shirts before laundry, perhaps searching for traces of perfume not her own. One evening, she asked, "Are you happy?" The question hung between us like smoke, suffocating in its simplicity. "Yes," I answered too quickly, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. She nodded but said nothing, her silence louder than accusation. Meanwhile, Marissa pressed harder. "I don't want to be your secret forever," she said during one late-night rendezvous. "You either choose me fully or lose me." Her words sliced through the haze of lust. I couldn't imagine losing her, yet the thought of shattering my marriage terrified me. I walked a tightrope, clinging to both lives, praying the rope wouldn't snap. At work, distraction consumed me. Reports blurred into meaningless numbers, meetings dragged without my focus. My boss pulled me aside, warning me about slipping performance. I nodded, pretending concern, but my mind was elsewhere, always with Marissa, always with the lies waiting at home. One Saturday, Clara suggested a spontaneous outing. "Let's drive to the coast. We haven't done that in years." Panic flared. I had promised Marissa that very afternoon. My tongue stumbled over excuses. Too much work, maybe another time. Clara's eyes hardened, disappointment flickering across her face before she turned away. That night, lying beside her, guilt suffocated me. I wanted to confess, to pour everything out and beg forgiveness. But then my phone buzzed with Marissa's name, and the temptation to escape honesty overpowered confession. The affair deepened under this pressure. We met in quieter places now, hotel rooms far from familiar streets, rented cabins beyond city limits. Each encounter carried urgency, as though we knew discovery lurked around every corner. The more dangerous it became, the more intoxicating it felt. Passion mixed with adrenaline, desire fused with fear. But cracks widened. Once I forgot to delete a message. Clara found it, an innocuous line from Marissa, "Can't stop thinking about you." She confronted me calmly, voice steady yet trembling beneath. "Who is she?" I froze, denial choking me. Just a colleague, nothing more. Her eyes bored into mine, searching for truth but finding only shadows. She didn't press further, perhaps unwilling to face confirmation. Instead, she walked away, leaving me drowning in both relief and shame. Marissa, on the other hand, grew restless. "I'm tired of hiding," she said, pacing her apartment. "Do you love me, or am I just an escape?" I grabbed her hands, pulling her close. "You're more than that," I whispered. And I meant it, or at least I thought I did in that moment. Yet, in the quiet after passion, her question echoed. Escape. The word gnawed at me. Was that all she was? Was that all I had become? At home, Clara grew quieter still, walls rising higher each day. We slept back to back, breaths out of sync. I caught glimpses of something in her gaze. Pain, suspicion, perhaps even contempt. Our silence screamed louder than words. The web tightened, threads pulling from every direction. I juggled lies, promises, and desires, each one heavier than the last. Something had to give, and I feared the collapse would destroy us all. The collapse came on an evening painted with ordinary quiet. Dinner plates rested untouched, television murmured in the background, rain tapped against glass. Clara sat across from me, her posture rigid, her gaze unwavering. "I know," she said simply. My fork slipped from my hand, clattering against porcelain. "Know what?" I asked, though denial sounded hollow, childish. "Everything." Her voice carried no anger, only exhaustion, the kind that comes from wounds left unattended too long. "Her name is Marissa, isn't it?" Blood drained from my face. I searched for words, but none came. Silence betrayed me more loudly than any confession. Clara rose slowly, as though the weight of years pressed on her shoulders. "I gave up trying to reach you," she continued, tears glistening but refusing to fall. "And you gave up waiting for me. But instead of fighting for us, you ran to someone else." Her words sliced deeper than rage ever could. I wanted to argue, to explain the loneliness, the nights of rejection, the ache of invisibility. But excuses crumble before truth. And the truth was simple: I had betrayed her. She walked away, leaving me with empty dishes, a muted television, and a heart collapsing inward. The following days blurred. Clara moved through the house like a ghost, speaking only when necessary. She slept in the guest room, packed small boxes discreetly, avoided my eyes. The finality of it all settled over me. Our marriage was ending, not with a fight but with a quiet unraveling. Marissa became both refuge and burden. I confessed Clara knew. At first, she embraced me, whispering promises of new beginnings, fresh starts. Yet beneath her comfort, I sensed hesitation. She asked questions she hadn't before. "Do you love me, or did you just need me?" I wanted to shout both. But honesty cornered me. I admitted I didn't know. Her face fell, shoulders slumping beneath invisible weight. For the first time, she looked not like salvation but like another chapter one wasn't ready to write. Weeks passed. Clara filed for separation. Papers arrived, stark and unyielding. I signed with trembling hands, each stroke of ink erasing vows once sacred. Our home became emptier by the day, her clothes gone, photos missing from frames, silence replacing even the faint hum of her presence. I sought solace with Marissa, but cracks grew between us two. Passion cooled into questions, stolen nights turned into awkward mornings. Without the thrill of secrecy, reality crept in. She wanted commitment, I offered uncertainty. Arguments replaced laughter, ultimatums replaced affection. One night, she stood by her doorway, eyes resolute. "I can't be your replacement for what's broken. You have to figure out who you are without me." And then she closed the door. I drove aimlessly that night, rain streaking windshield glass until city lights blurred into nothing. I pulled over by the river, staring at dark waters that reflected fragments of myself I could no longer recognize. Husband, lover, liar, coward, all titles fit, none offered peace. I thought of Clara's words, "You gave up waiting for me." She was right. I had chosen the path of least resistance, the allure of immediate desire over the hard work of healing. And in doing so, I had lost them both. Now, the bed lies cold each night. The house echoes with emptiness. My phone remains silent. I tried to hug my wife, she turned away. I ran to another, and she, too, let me go. What remains is me, alone, staring into silence, haunted by choices carved in lust, etched in betrayal. I whispered once more into the void, the words left unfinished that night long ago. Better nothing than this.